quietly, there's been something going on at Ole Miss that all of a sudden bubbled to the surface on Thursday, just hours before one of the biggest games that they've had in recent school history. And so the situation going on, it involves a player named DeSanto Rollins, okay? So in September, DeSanto Rollins sued the school and sued Lane Kiffin, and basically argued racial discrimination, that he got thrown off the team, and that, it was racial discrimination, but also that his mental health rights were challenged, that basically he took a sabbatical from the team. Other players have had the opportunity to leave and take a mental health break. He gets thrown off, whatever. I bring it up. That lawsuit happened to be filed in September. By the way, I should mention, just so we're all clear here, he is seeking $10 million in compensatory damages from Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, another $30 million in punitive damages from Kiffin, and is seeking a temporary restraining order as well as an injunction reinstating him to the team. Now, it's important to note, by the way, Ole Miss, when this story first broke, they said he's still on the team. He's still on scholarship. He's allowed to be there, even if he's not playing. So that's what's going on. But I bring it up because it just so happened that audio of his interaction with Lane Kiffin that ultimately led to what he believes was being kicked off the team, it just so happened to come out on Thursday. Now, an Ole Miss fan will sit there and tell you, it's not a coincidence. They're trying to create interest in the lawsuit. They're trying to create buzz, whatever. But I bring it up because I want to talk about this. We unfortunately do not have the audio. I'm going to read you a transcript of the back and forth, but let me just give you a little bit of context as to what happened in the lead up to this meeting with Lane Kiffin in late March, okay? So DeSanto Rollins was part of the team last year, gets hurt, doesn't really play, whatever. In the spring, he alleges that basically his position coach tries to force him to transfer. Then he has a meeting with Kiffin and the position coach where they say, okay, we're moving you to the scout team O-line. He says, I need a break from the program, whatever. His mom, and I know I'm going in a lot of different directions, but let me explain. We'll get to the setup here. His mom then asked the school for a mental health therapist to kind of work with him. The mental health therapist meets with him, and about 2-3 weeks pass. Finally, he meets with Kiffin where this dust up happens. Okay. So he basically meets with the mental health therapist. He does not interact at all with the coaching staff or with Lane Kiffin. It leads to the meeting in mid-March of this year. And here is the back and forth. I'm going to read it to you verbatim. I apologize that we don't have the audio, but I'm just going to read it to you as best I can. So it starts with Lane Kiffin. He says, if you would have come in here when you kept getting messages, the head coach wants to talk to you, and you say, I'm not ready to talk to him, Kiffin said. Rollins responded, I wasn't ready to talk. Kiffin says, what expletive world do you live in? He says, Rollins responds, I don't understand why you have to be disrespectful, honestly. Kiffin says, get out of here. You're off the team. You're done. See ya. Go. And guess what? We can kick you off the team. Go read your expletive rights about mental health. We can kick you off the team for not showing up. When the head coach asks to meet with you and you don't show up for weeks, okay, we can remove you from the team. It's called being an expletive. It's called hiding behind expletive and not showing up to work. So that audio made the rounds. If you have not heard it, it is readily available on social media. Credit to Front Office Sports. They're the ones that got it. And let me do a bunch of caveats before we get into it. One, I've said this a million times. I'm going to keep saying it every time a topic like this comes up. Mental health is a serious thing. It's not something I take lightly. It's not a joke to me. It's not anything that I take lightly. I've said it many times. My wife works in the mental health field. Yes, I am married, convinced somebody to marry me, whatever. Wife works in the mental health field. My sister works in the mental health field. My sister-in-law works in the mental health field. I know how serious it is. I know how many people struggle with this stuff on a day-to-day basis. I'm not here to analyze Rollins from that perspective. I'm not here to psychoanalyze him from the mental health perspective. But what I am here is to say this. Based on what we know now, based on the audio that we heard, and based on what we know, based on the facts that are in the lawsuit, I think the Rollins camp very much dropped this audio to try to make him be a sympathetic figure on Thursday before one of the – I don't know if it had anything to do with the Ole Miss game on Saturday, but I don't think it's coincidence. I believe that they dropped this audio to make him a sympathetic figure. I actually think it was Lane Kiffin who comes off not looking wrong here. Now, bluntly, people that listen to the audio, there's a lot of expletives from Lane Kiffin. Thank you, everybody, for your support of the Aaron Torres podcast YouTube channel. And we have a major announcement as with legal sports betting coming to the state of Kentucky. By the way, college hoop season is here, so you know Kentucky is on fire. Well, guess what? Here is the announcement. The Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel has partnered with DraftKings Sportsbook and the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And here is the cool part. DraftKings has an incredible offer for first-time customers who are listeners of the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. Here is what you need to know about that offer. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. New customers can bet $5 on any game and get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you use the promo code Torres. That is right, Torres, Torres. It's that simple. Download the app. Bet $5 on any game. Could be pro, could be college, could be basketball, could be football. And you get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you use the code Torres. Thank you to DraftKings Sportsbook. Incredible offer. First-time customers, take advantage right now. A lot of people would sit there and say, well, you know, he's the head coach. He's the adult in the room. He shouldn't be yelling and screaming and swearing at the kid. At the same time, I mean, how much is a coach supposed to take, right? As Lane Kiffin said, and as is confirmed in the lawsuit, the kid went AWOL for 2 weeks. The kid didn't respond to texts from his coaches. He didn't respond to texts from Lane Kiffin. He knows that they want to meet with him, and he didn't show up. And so from Lane Kiffin's perspective, of course he's mad. They've been trying to get in touch for 2 weeks. The kid doesn't respond. Then he shows up and he wants a meeting. So of course Lane Kiffin is going to be frustrated. Of course he's going to be mad. And again, it goes to a baseline thing that I have talked about on this show before. Again, I don't take mental health. I don't think it's a joke, whatever. But one thing that does bother me, one thing that really drives me crazy, I do not like people using mental health as an excuse to get away with any which behavior that they choose. I'm not saying this kid doesn't have things that he needs to work out in his personal life. I'm not saying that Lane Kiffin handled this with 100% class. And I'm sure if he knew he was recorded, because my guess is he did not know he was recorded. Now, according to Mississippi law, he does not have to be told that he's recorded. But I'm sure if Lane Kiffin had to do it over, that he would love a second chance at that particular interaction. But at the same time, it's emotional. He hasn't seen the kid forever. And I am tired of people using mental health as an excuse to get out of things they don't want to do. I understand there are mental health issues. I understand there are things that people have to work through. It's something that every single person in society has to work through. Mental health, behind the scenes, things that you don't know that are going on. I get it. What is the old saying? Everybody's going through something. I'm not here to criticize him for what was going on in his personal life. That does not excuse him from being able to do whatever the heck he wants and just not show up. I saw a bunch of people say this on social media, but it's true. Is you have any job in any walk of life, you can't just go AWOL for 2 weeks and say, oh, by the way, sorry, mental health, whatever, boss, take me back. It's like, no, that's not how life works. And by the way, if you want to get mad at me, you want to say, well, you're not a mental health expert. Who are you to say? Well, according to the lawsuit, this kid met with a mental health expert provided by the school. By the way, it is ironic because Lane Kiffin and his staff actually in the offseason talked a lot about their mental health training, but there was a school appointed person to speak with this young man. And the school appointed person said, meet with the coaches. I think the suggestion was meet on March 7th, and he actively chose not to meet until March 21st. So even the mental health expert in this case, which is certainly not me, told him, you got to talk to the coaches. You got to figure this out. You got to work on this together, and you have to keep them in the loop on what is going on. He chose not to for 2 weeks. So of course, Lane Kiffin is going to get mad. And of course, there are going to be repercussions. And so I don't mean to belabor the point. This doesn't have to be like a 24-minute segment here. But at the same time, I hope the kid gets the help that he needs. I hope if there are mental health issues, and listen, he was going through injuries. You talk to any athlete that has had to rehab by themselves, work by themselves, be by themselves during that process. It sucks. You're not with your team. You're not with your guys. You're going through grueling rehab. You're doing whatever. It's not easy. But it also doesn't give you an excuse not to respond to the coach, not to respond to your assistant coaches, whatever. And again, I especially, I don't have sympathy because he recorded the thing. It was clear, in my opinion, It appears as though he was trying to some gotcha moment, some setup moment, some whatever. Shouldn't have been recording it. If it was really about mental health, you can still get in touch with the coaches and still let them know, hey, like, I'm not right. I can't be back. So I don't mean to go on and on. I wish the kid well. I don't know what else there is to say. I don't think Lane Kiffin comes off looking bad in this. If that makes me insensitive, I'm sorry. But again, yes, you can have mental health issues, but you still have baseline responsibilities. You're a student athlete. You're on scholarship. You're maybe getting NIL money. And apparently, like, all they were asking for was, can you respond to a text? Can you respond to a phone call? Can you show up at the facility? And so we'll see how this all plays out. We'll see if there's new information. But one thing about me, my job is to react to the information that we have. And I think if Lane Kiffin had to do it over, he'd love a little bit of a different response, maybe a little bit more of a balanced response, maybe not so much screaming. But when the school-appointed mental health therapist literally tells you, meet with the coaching staff, talk to your coaches, it's okay, you'll work through it, and then you choose not to, I'm sorry, I don't feel bad. I especially don't feel bad because the kid recorded it. You know, it just so happens to get out before Ole Miss's biggest game. Doesn't really add up to me, but I don't think Lane Kiffin comes off looking bad here.